So we started recording. Hey, folks, how's it going? Again, my name is Sherwood. I'm one of the lead consultants here at Air Cadet. I'm also a flight instructor and an active airline captain, one of the major airlines here in the U.S. I only fly half of the month. Normally, the other half of the month, I relax, and I also do some consulting work. We're actually broadcasting from one of our hangars here in Norman Beach, which is where the new program takes place. This is not a backdrop. That's a real airplane. That's one of the airplanes we fly for advanced training. It has a full glass cockpit. It's actually a serious aircraft, and most of the training is done on Cessna 152, 172. So you have a choice between those two aircraft. But it's done from this very airport, at the airport we're in right now. On the background, you'll hear some flight training happening as we speak. So there will be a lot of propeller noise. Hopefully, it won't be too disrupting. But you'll hear a lot of guys flight training right now. It's a great time to flight train. Beautiful weather out there. You can see it. It's just beautiful day right there on the hangar. Okay, so today we're talking about the new program we have. It's called Hybrid Program. And what we did, we combined our flight training here in the United States at Norman Beach on the M1 visa, so which is non-academic flight training only visa, with a pathway program in Canada. And the reason why we did that, well, we'll talk about the reasons in a second. First of all, let's talk about what is the difference between the programs that we had before and the current program we have right now. The programs we had before were based on the F1 visa, which is an academic visa, right? Which basically allows you to come to the United States, do your flight training. You got to do an academic segment, and then you actually have a right to stay here and work for up to 18 months on the OPT and CPT. So CPT first and OPT. CPT is curriculum practical training, and OPT is, I think, it's optional practical training. Okay, and so it gives you 18 months of work here, and obviously work as a flight instructor, because the course is commercial pilot and then flight instructor license, right? Unfortunately, a lot of countries, especially in India, and we have a lot of Indian students. We're probably 85% of our student body are from India. We have a lot of Indian students that complain about the waiting time for the F1 visa. It takes 4 or 5 months, sometimes even longer. So we had to mitigate it somehow. And the way we did that, the way we mitigated it, is we decided to look at M1 visa, how long it takes actually to get M1 visa. And apparently it's very quick. It takes anywhere between 2 weeks to 3 weeks to get an M1 visa. So apparently it's faster. Also great news is that M1 visa is actually easier to obtain because it doesn't entail internship, right? So every time you apply for flight training and then it has internship after that, the consulate looks at whether or not you're planning to immigrate to the United States, right? And they don't want you to immigrate. We don't mind if you immigrate. Obviously, we don't mind that at all. We need pilots. We need pilots in America, but they don't want you to. So they want to make sure that you guys are honest when it comes to your statement you're coming to study and not to immigrate. And so if somebody comes to study and somebody studies for, let's say, 12 months or 18 months, and after that they work for maybe another 18 months, they actually have immigration opportunities. And so that's why the consulate scrutinizes those applications, and they're a lot more selective when it comes to approval. Okay, when it comes to M1 visa, they know you only coming to study, and after you finish studying, you only got 30 days to leave the country. Okay, so they know you're not going to be able to stay unless you obviously stay illegally, right? That's a different story altogether. We're not talking about criminality here. So this is why approval of M1 visa applications is higher than approval for F1 visa applications. Now, what's the problem with that? Why didn't we use M1 visa before? Well, first of all, we wanted you to stay and get the immediate work experience, right? We want you to get the flight time do you need to obtain your ATPL license, which is airline transfer pilot license, right? We want to make sure you guys, have a significant flight time and not just 200, 250 hours. As it says on the website, it's just not enough to get a job. It's just not enough to get any kind of job. I'm not even talking about airline job. It's not enough to get, even job as a charter pilot most of the time. It's just not enough flight time. And there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of pilots out there with much higher flight time, and they'll be competing with you. And you don't want to be competing with guys that have 1,500 hours or 2,000 hours of flight time. We only have 250 hours. It's just not going to work. So I want to make sure you guys are extremely competitive when you finish the program. Okay. Now, we recently, I'd say about 4 or 5 months ago, introduced a new program in Canada, and it's called Pathway to ATP for ICAO CPL holders. The CPL is obviously commercial pilot license. And so the point of the program in Canada is if you have a CPL from any ICAO license, from any ICAO country, you can actually come to Canada, you can convert your license, and then you can work as a flight instructor. You do your flight instructor training, and then you work as a flight instructor in Canada for at least a year. After a year, Canada gives you an opportunity to apply for permanent residency. And that's very important because the United States does not give you this opportunity. You can work at OPT or CPT for as long as you want. Unfortunately, you won't be able to apply for PR. So this is why we see Canada as a great sort of trampoline, if you will, to get your ATPL license, the full ATPL license, not just CPL, but also build some incredibly valuable jet flight time if you get approved for your Canadian experience class. The Canadian experience class, as it says on the website, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. Canadian experience class is an opportunity to apply for permanent residency after completion of 12 months of internship. Okay, so I know it's confusing, but what we're going to do right now, we're going to look at the website, and we're going to go we're going to go through the stages, through all the stages of the program, and then we'll answer some questions. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here with you. All right, here we go. And you guys should be able to see that. Okay, so how did I get here? If you go to aircadet.com, click on Programs and Courses, and then go to US and Canada Hybrid Program, that's how you're going to get there. All right, now we're going to skip the summary. The summary is basically, why enroll with Air Cadet? What is Air Cadet? We discussed at many seminars, the webinars. If you guys are interested, you can just go back to our website and to our Facebook group and review some of the webinars. This is the part here that explains why holding commercial pilot license is just not enough. And it is a big problem because we have a lot of students that do their just commercial license training. They contact us, they ask, how can I get more flight time? How can I get an ATP? I can't get a job. I only got a CPL. I only got a CPL from India, or I got a CPL from whatever, South Africa. Some people go there for some reason. We don't know why. Or I only got a CPL from US, and I don't know what to do. I can't get a job anywhere. Well, this is why we tell you CPL is just not enough, but it might be a good start. So this is why we have a CPL program in the United States with that guaranteed transfer to our Canadian program, where you continue building your career. You work as a flight instructor, you can apply for PR, you can get permanent residency, and you're going to end up with actually 2 licenses, not 1, but 2 licenses, US and Canadian. How cool is that, right? Your resume is going to look amazing. All right, so if we look at here, it basically explains to how exactly this program achieves your objectives. We just talked about it combines a very fast track program from 0 to CPL in the United States. We think you can achieve it in just 6 months. So in 6 months, you can go from 0 to commercial pilot license with single engine, multi-engine rating, and instrument rating, right? 6 months. It's got to be an intensive program. You will fly anywhere between 2 to 3 hours a day. but we do have a lot of aircraft here. There's a huge amount of aircraft. We have 152s. We got about 45 152s. We got about 20 172s. There's a lot of aircraft. So if any of you wants to finish it really quickly, you know, you can jump in 152 and fly your ass off, as we say. Again, we got a lot of 172s as well. Both of those aircraft are certified by ICAO. If you're from India, they're certified in India as well. And there's no difference when you get your commercial pilot license. No difference what aircraft you trained on. What's important is how fast you finish your training. What's important is how fast you went solo, because those things are scrutinized by the airlines when you apply for airline employment. They'll look at those things. They'll look at your logbook and say, okay, he went solo after 10 hours. Amazing. What a great pilot. This guy's a natural, or girl. But they can also say, okay, it took him 35 hours to go solo. That's concerning, right? So what's important is how fast you go solo. So if you're looking to get your license fast, and that's the whole point of the program in the US, get your license fast, fly as much as you want, use the resources of the flight school, that's what you're going to get. 6 months, also going to save you a lot of money in accommodation, in food, et cetera, et cetera. So let's go through that really quickly. Program structure and timeline. All right, so you can see we have mandatory program phases and add-on stages, right? Now, why do we just divide it into those two parts? Some people might ask you, well, what about, you just said that 250 hours in CPL is not enough. Absolutely, it's not enough to get a job if you don't have a job offer already. We have some students from, countries like Vietnam, for example, where they have a conditionally guaranteed employment from, for example, Vietjet, right? And Vietjet gives them a letter, and it states, we guarantee employment if you get a CPL, all right, from any ICAO country, preferably United States or Canada. Now we can come back here, we're going to do conversion, and you're guaranteed to become a first officer immediately after completion of conversion, all right? Do those guys need to stay here for a year and a half or 2 years to continue building flight time? No, they don't, because they have guaranteed offer of employment, which is conditional on them getting the license, right? So we have students like that. And so what we want to do is give them opportunity to get their CPL as quickly as possible, because at the end of the day, the target is to get the license as quickly as possible, then come back to the country and start flying. There are some students like that from India, for example, where they have connections in, for example, Indigo, and where Indigo would also give them a letter of conditional guarantee. That's quite rare. It's normally if your dad works as a captain there or something like that, he can pull some strings, and that's what happens. So we have a mandatory part of the program and add-on part of the program. The mandatory part of the program is CPL with multi-engine, single engine, and instrument add-ons, which is, you see right here, phase 1 and 2. So phase 1 is enrollment. It takes 1 to 2 months. Obviously, worldwide, we do everything online. And phase 2 is CPL, AML, ASL. AML is airplane multi-engine land. ASL is airplane single engine land. And of course, you got the instrument rating for both of those types of aircraft. Once you complete that, and again, we put here 8 months. Again, we have students here who are doing 6 months. So if you fly a lot, if you don't slack, right? If you're here every day, you can finish it in 6 months. It's possible, right? Well, we put here 8 months just in case somebody wants to take a little extra time off. If somebody doesn't want to fly in the weekends. By the way, you can fly here in the weekends if you need to. There's a lot of aircraft. You can just come back. We'll leave the keys. We'll put you on the schedule. You grab the aircraft. You do whatever solo flight time you need to do. Maybe solo cross country. You can basically fly with another student if you want to, if you're bored. And that's also a great way to mitigate fatigue. You can do a long cross country, let's say from Mormon Beach to Marathon, which is near Miami. It's about 3 hours of flying. And then on the way back, your buddy can fly. He's got to be the PIC, and you'll be the pilot observing. Okay, so it's a good way to mitigate fatigue. That way you're not tired. All right, so let's say you finish the CPL in, let's say, 6 months. Now what? Well, congratulations. Now you're a certified commercial pilot, right? By all the ICAO standard. You have an option of converting your license immediately to, for example, Indian license or a Chinese license or Vietnamese license or whatever you want, or you can continue through the program. The next stage of the program is transfer to Canada, right? And so what happens here is that you follow our pathway to ATP in Canada program for ICAO CPL holders. The only difference is that you're not just ICAO CPL holder, you're FAA CPL holder, the United States. Now, why is it important? The United States and Canada have a special reciprocating agreement. It's a bilateral agreement, which allows both US pilots and Canadian pilots to convert licenses into each other's authorities from US to Canada, from Canada to US, by taking one air law exam. You don't have to do check ride. You don't have to write 3 different exams like you normally would if you're from any other ICAO country. It's just one air law exam, and you have to do the medical. So take the medical. Medical costs about $150. The air law exam costs $100. $250, your license converted to full unrestricted CPL in Canada. Okay, same ratings, multi-engine, single engine instrument. How great is that? If you came from any other ICAO country, for example, India, you have to take 3 exams, you have to take check ride, you have to do some standardization. So the conversion will cost around $10,000, right? In this case, the conversion only costs $250. Amazing, right? And you can add now 2 licenses to your resume. So when you convert, you don't lose FAA license. You still have the FAA license, still have the US license, US CPL. And in addition to that, you also have Canadian CPL. So you have 2 licenses, and it's going to look amazing on a resume. Right away, you're going to stand out of the herd, right? All those applicants will be applying for jobs at some point, and they only have 1 license, right? You have 2 already. So the next thing, we have a long, protracted flight instructor training course in Canada. Why do I have to extend it for 12 months? Why does it take 6 months to get commercial license, 12 months to get flight instructor license? Well, we have to extend this course to 12 months because postgraduate work permit cannot be less than the time of study. So if you study for 12 months, right, you can get postgraduate work permit, your internship, for 12 months as well. If you study for 6 months, your internship's got to be 6 months in Canada. That's not enough. So we want to make sure you guys get at least 12 months of postgraduate work permits. Now, the question is, why do you do that? Well, we do that to take advantage of the government program in Canada called Canadian Experience Class. And this government program allows you to apply for permanent residency after 12 months of working full-time on postgraduate work permits, right? Now, you will be, of course, working full-time as flight instructors. You can also work as commercial pilots in Canada. It's up to you. If you want to work as commercial pilots, like bush pilots or charter pilots, we'll certainly assist you with the search of employment. But the preferred work during the postgraduate work program as a flight instructor. We think it's a lot safer. It's a structured sort of internship, and that way you can build your flight time a lot faster because you can work 6, 7, 8 hours. You can fly 6, 7, 8 hours per day, right? So you can get to the target ATP requirements much faster. All right. So you're going to study for 12 months. Now, can you work during those 12 months? Yes, absolutely. The Canadian law states that you can work up to 20 hours per week, right? You can work doing whatever job you want, right? There are many jobs in Canada, but you can also work in your profession, right? So if there are, for example, opportunities, I'd need a couple more people. If there, for example, there are commercial pilot opportunities where you can work up to 20 hours per week, that you can take those opportunities. You can work as a commercial pilot. That's allowed up to 20 hours per week while you're studying as a flight instructor. We're not by any means guaranteeing that, but that's an opportunity you have, right? That's a government program. So after completion of 12 months of flight instructor study course, you'll take a check ride, you become what we call level 4 flight instructor, and you can start working as a flight instructor for the next 12 months. All right. Again, you can work now full time, more than 30 hours per week. The current pay in Canada is approximately 30 Canadian dollars per hour. Okay, per hour of instruction. It doesn't have to be flight time. It could be ground instruction. So if you do a briefing and debriefing with your student for an hour or hour and a half before and after the flight, you still get paid $30 per hour, right? When you're up in the air, same pay. Obviously, your target is to fly as much as possible. So if you can pull 4, 5, 6 hours a day, right? That'd be great. That way you can get to your ATP minimums very quickly. Now, again, after 12 months of working as a flight instructor, you can apply. It's a government program. It's a Canadian government program. And right here, we actually have we have a link here to the Canadian Experience Class program. If you don't believe it exists, click on that, and it takes you to the government website, to the Government of Canada, eligibility to apply for Canadian Experience Class. Let's look at the minimum requirements. Okay, so you must meet the required language levels: writing, reading, listening, speaking. Now that shouldn't be a problem, because unless you can do all of that, you would not be enrolled in this program. We require IELTS academic level of 6.0 or higher to enroll in the program. So that covers all that. Have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada in the last 3 years before you apply. So obviously this part doesn't apply, because you're going to apply immediately after completion. You're not going to wait for 3 years, right? But you have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada. What does that mean? It means working as a flight instructor for about a year, right? Full time. It has to be a full-time job, 30 hours a week for 12 months. Okay, so that's the amount of hours that you're going to log as an instructor during the period of time. All right. Again, you work experience working in Canada while on the temporary resident status with authorization to work. So temporary resident status is postgraduate work permits. All right. So you can see right here, according to the government website, Canadian government website, you're eligible to apply for it. Now, they do use a point system, so it doesn't mean that it's not 100% guaranteed you're going to get approved. But if you meet the education requirements, it says there is no education requirements for Canadian Experience Class. No education requirements. That's the minimum requirement. But you guys do have education, right? So some of you have college degrees, some of you have high school diplomas, right? It's not like you have no education whatsoever. So it's going to give you points towards your towards consideration for the application. Now, you went to school in Canada. So this point right here, you have foreign education. Most of you have foreign education, and you also went to school in Canada, right? The school you're going to go to is called Canadian Aviation College. It's a real college. And after completion of that, you also get a certificate of college completion. It's not going to be a bachelor's degree or like that, but it's a certificate of college completion, which is worth 12 academic points. That's about 4 college courses, right? Because each course is worth 3 points approximately, right? So you have 12 academic points, and that's a part of your education. You can declare it when you apply for Canadian Experience Class. Language ability, obviously, that goes without saying, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see, according to the Canadian website, you will be eligible to apply for PR in Canada. All right. Now, what about postgraduate work permit? Well, right here in phase 4, we have, again, a link to Canadian government website, which talks about postgraduate work permits. I'm not sure why it's not working. We'll have to double check with IT, but you can just Google postgraduate work permit and in Canada, and it will take you to Canadian government website. I apologize, it's not working. I want to see if this one works. Yes, this one works. Okay. So again, postgraduate work permit. It's called Internal Mobility Program. So students who had completed their program of study were holders of a valid student permit. And of course, you will be holders of valid student permit. That's how you get to Canada. Full-time students enroll at DLI. You will be full-time students enroll at DLI. Canadian Aviation College is a DLI, of course. It has DLI number. Authorized to work off campus without a work permit, right? So you will be, your student visa will authorize you to work off campus without a work permit. And this is what we talked about when it comes to getting employed as commercial pilot part-time during your study as a flight instructor. You can tow banners. That's a commercial pilot work. You can fly charter as a first officer, right? That's commercial pilot work, right? You can do that a few hours a week. You can do some bush flying. You can do some deliveries, et cetera, et cetera. There's no restriction, right? Because you're a commercial pilot, fully certified commercial pilot in Canada. Remember, you have Canadian license as well. All right. And the one of the conditions did not exceed the allowable hours of work. Okay. So make sure you don't exceed 20 hours a week. That's the limit. If you exceed that, the Canadian government might have a beef with you, and we don't want that. All right. Next thing, unrestricted work permit. So this is what we're talking about, Canadian experience class, where you cover that. Once you've finished your hour building, which is 1,500 hours, you can apply for airline transfer pilot license. The requirements for that license are published right here. Again, click here. It's going to go to Transport Canada website. This is the Canadian Aviation Authority. And it's just going to explain to you exactly what are requirements to apply for ATP. Right? It's all right here. So if you ever confused or need more information, we publish everything on our website. We link from our website to the government website, so it's all legible and legal. Okay. Now, let's say you apply for Canadian experience class. You get approved. You get a PR, right? What's next? Well, we got phase 7A and 7B. The two different phases. They're not consecutive phases. They're concurrent phases. Concurrent meaning that we allow you to choose. The 7A is a preferential phase, and this is where you can apply for employment as a first officer in Canadian Airlines, any Canadian airline you want, because you just got your PR, permanent residency. So as a permanent resident of Canada, you have the same rights exactly for employment as any Canadian citizen. The only thing you cannot do is to vote. You cannot vote in elections, right? I don't think you guys need that at this stage. But what's important is that you have the same rights as all the Canadian citizens in terms of employment, right? So you're eligible for unlimited employment, and you can apply for employment with airlines. There's a lot of airlines in Canada. The college, the CAC, has a tie-up with Jazz Aviation, right, which is a part of Air Canada. And they fly CRJ aircraft, the Canada Regional Jet, okay? So those of you who are looking for eligibility for employment with Emirates or Qatar, Etihad, Emirates, for example, requires 2,000 hours on the jet with AMTO, maximum takeoff weight over 20 tons. The CRJ jet, the maximum takeoff weight is over 30 tons, actually. So you should be able to meet those requirements without a problem. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's 75,000 pounds, right? So it's about 35 tons, something like that. And CRJ 200 aircraft also meets that requirements. It's about 55,000 pounds, so it's over 20 tons. All right. So if you're targeting Emirates for your employment, that's the kind of job experience you need. You're going to get 2,000 hours there as a first officer, and you're ready to apply for Emirates. And Emirates, let me tell you what, they will love you because you have 2 licenses. Remember that? On your resume, you have 2 licenses. You have Canadian license, Canadian ATP. You have the US CPL, right? So they know that you do your flight training in developed countries where aviation safety has a very, very high standard. They know you speak fluent English, right? Because you do training in English-speaking countries. They know you have experience working in a Western airline with a very high record of safety, right? That's what they want, because they want guys who've been standardized and trained by the Western airlines. They love that. They absolutely love that. So that would prefer you above anyone else. If somebody's coming from, airlines in whatever, applying for Emirates from airlines in Africa or India, and the only experience they had was working for the internal airlines in India, for example, right? That would not prefer those guys. They prefer somebody who worked for Western Airlines. Why? Because of safety record, because of English, because of certification, the training, right? They prefer you, not someone else. So you already beat your competition when it comes to application for employment with the target airlines of the choice. And again, it goes to a lot of airlines. It's not just Emirates. It's Emirates, Qatar, Etihad is a popular choice. Cathay Pacific, they're hiring like crazy right now. They shrunk the operation down to 2% during the COVID. Right now, they're trying to expand back to 100%. So they're hiring like crazy. So there's a lot of hiring going on right now. Now, we also have a safety net option. Let's say if you apply for candidate experience class and you got rejected. Why could that be? Well, what's the reason for rejection? Well, there could be some reasons. For example, let's say you had a couple of drinks, 3 or 4 drinks, and you decided to drive to another party, right? That happens, right? We appreciate you guys are young and probably want to have some parties, right? You got stopped by a police officer, and he arrested you for drinking and driving. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get arrested. Now you got it's not a felony, but it's a misdemeanor record. If you have a misdemeanor record, immigration checks your application and find you have a misdemeanor record, they will reject your application, right? Because they don't want people who are undisciplined and don't respect the law. They don't want immigrants like that. So they'll reject your application. Let's say, for example, you have some kind of misdemeanor on your record, you get rejected. What now? Well, it's not over. First of all, remember, you have over 1,500 hours at this point on the propeller aircraft and full ATPL from Canada. So you have a lot of opportunities already, to apply for employment. But we extend you another internship opportunity with a partner, Global Air, BVI. They're located in Caribbean, and they ferry aircraft all over the world, mostly from the United States and Canada to Europe, also Asia, also a lot of ferry from Asia to Europe, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll have a guaranteed offer of employment, of internship. Your internship will be reserved with Global Air BVI. Okay, if you want to check out the website again, click on that. And they've been again, for some reason that link is not working, so I apologize. But if you go to air-ferry.com, and you'll check out you'll check out their website. They've been operating since 2007. So very sort of successful company, and they need pilots. All right, now let's get into the meat and gravy. What are you going to get? What kind of flight time are you going to get while you're in the United States? So here's a list of flight time, and you're going to get trained according to Part 61 curriculum. Let me cover that really quickly. I sent an email probably 3 or 4 days ago explaining the difference between Part 61 and Part 141. I sure hope you read it. If you didn't read it, you can also reread it if you go to a Facebook group and just look at the post we have, or our Twitter account. We'll see the post that goes straight into that email. So, but just as a brief sort of recap, Part 141 is the curriculum you have to take if you train on F1 visa, which is what we had before that. And Part 141 is a very structured, very rigid curriculum. You have to adhere to it exactly. And if you don't adhere to it exactly, if you don't do exercises exactly one by one sequentially as published in this curriculum, you will not pass the state check. If you don't pass the state check, you have to repeat the whole phase, right? So it's a curriculum divided into many phases, right? At the end of each phase, you have a state check. State check is conducted by chief flight instructor or assistant chief flight instructor. If they don't like what they see, they're going to kick you back to repeat the phase. Of course, it's going to cost you more money. It's going to take more time, right? Part 61 is a flexible curriculum. It's not a rigid curriculum. It's a flexible curriculum, and it's allowable under M1 visa program. So again, I'm repeating that this is the M1 visa program. Part 61 allows you to undergo training in accordance with just general sort of flexible curriculum of flight training, which is provided by the school. There are no state checks. There's a lot of flexibility in there. There's some lessons that you can You can do some lessons, for example, if the weather allows you. If the weather doesn't allow you, you can do some other lessons. If there are no state checks, so you cannot kick back. You cannot get kicked back to repeat the whole phase just because you failed the state check. So it's a lot more flexible, and that's why we think a lot of cases it's actually faster to go with Part 61 than Part 141. And so right here you got this whole list of hours, just in case you get confused, exactly where you get. And these hours here are Cessna 152. Again, you can always upgrade to Cessna 172 if you want to, and the upgrade cost is published right here. Oh, by the way, let me just go through it real quickly. Accommodations included in the cost of training. 6 months of shared accommodation in a great place. It's called Integra Shores. It's an apartment complex here in Florida. Really beautiful place. You have buses, shuttles provided by the Academy, which will be running between the flight center and Integra Shores and back. Okay, and also they'll be taking you to do shopping if you need to do shopping, any kind of grocery shopping. Obviously, the apartment has a full kitchen, has a gym, has a swimming pool. It's really, really beautiful place, really nice. And a lot of college students, especially the ones attending Embry-Riddle, live there. So it's a real nice place. And so here's the cost. If you need to exceed 6 months, here's the cost for shared room, and here's the cost for private room. Okay, most students stay in a shared room. It's $675 per month, includes all the utilities, and again, includes all the laundry, gym equipment, whatever you need. It's all included. Let's talk about the cost. So what we did here is we published the cost of the best base training, right? Just in case you don't want to progress beyond phase 2, right? You just want to do phase 1 and phase 2, get your CPL, multi-engine instrument, and single engine add-on, and go back to your country, trying to find a job. The cost, including accommodation, including all the government fees, including everything, is $59,669. Okay, that's US dollars. So it's just under $60 US. We think it's very competitive, considering that a lot of programs, cadet programs that achieve exactly the same certification, for example, in India, cost over $120,000. Right? We think it's extremely competitive. Now, you can also upgrade to Cessna 172. You can do it per hour if you want to, right? Or you can do it as a whole training curriculum. So it's $42 or $41.91 per flight hour. Okay, and by the way, you're also welcome to just mix and switch. They're very, very similar aircraft. If you know how to fly Cessna 152, you'll know exactly how to fly 172 and back and forth. It just got a little more power and it's a little faster. So if you're doing, for example, let's say a CPL cross country, which has to be at least 3 hours, but you want to go a little further, you can take Cessna 172. You can cruise in style, cruise in a little more comfort, and get to, for example, Miami from here. Some students go as far as Bahamas, right? You can also go to Bahamas. That's allowed as well. You can take, if you do during the hour building phase, we have to build about 50 hours during the hour building phase. That's a lot of fun, and you can definitely do that and sort of enjoy yourself and have a good time. Let's see what else we got here. Additional expenses, we can read through that. Indian ATPL add-on. Those of you from India, you can do an Indian ATPL add-on after you complete your ATPL hours. It costs you about $5,000. Prices fluctuate depending on cost of fuel. So right now we estimate about 5,000 hours, and it's done with Hercules Aviation Training in Hyderabad or Mumbai, most likely Hyderabad at this point. You have a discount. You have $10,000 discount if you already hold a PPL from any country. So if you did your PPL, for example, in let's say Vietnam or in India, you hold a PPL from there, we'll give you $10,000 discount from this program. So instead of $60,000, it will cost you $50,000. All right, so final, what's included in the cost? 6 months of campus accommodations included, administrative consulting service, everything's included, US and Canada visa support. We're gonna send you all the LOAs, all the paperwork to apply for visas. Caribbean internship, that's why with Global Air. Recommendation letter, employment support. So if you need to look for employees, say you get to Canada and you're trying to find employment as a commercial pilot while studying to be a flight instructor, we'll provide you all the support letters for that, recommendation letters, everything you need, just to maximize your chances of getting a job you want in the meantime while you're studying. And of course, airline employment placement assistance. Now, we have a lot of questions about that. What does that mean? Can you get me straight? Can you pick me up from Canada and put me straight into Emirates? No, nobody can do that, right? The only tie-up that Emirates has is with a flight school called Ayala, which is in Jordan, and the Emirati flight school in Emirates. Okay, and only Emirati citizens are eligible for that. Okay, so if you're from any other country, which is like 99% of people, then you're not eligible for this program. So they only allow Emirati direct entry into Emirates. If you're not an Emirati citizen, you're not allowed to do that. And so no, we can't pick you up and put you in Emirates. But what we can do is get you to the standards of certification and flight experience, which is required for Emirates. We'll get you all the materials you need to pass the interview. Okay, so 3-stage interview, so 3-day interview. And again, I sent an email about it a couple of months ago, explaining exactly how it looks. I'll send it again, it's not a problem. And basically we'll provide all the study material. So you have to pass a panel interview with the captains. You have to pass technical interview. You have to pass HR interview, and you have to pass some exercises. Okay, so again, we know exactly what it looks like. I myself have a lot of friends who work for Emirates, and so we have all the inside information, exactly what's required in order to become Emirates first officer. All right. Payment schedule. You got a payment schedule right here. Tells you exactly what you need to pay at what stages. All right. Student loans and financing. We actually discuss this every time. So if you want to find out how to get financing, go to admissions, go to student loans, click here, and it will basically give you overviews, exactly how to get financing, if you're eligible, if you're not eligible. We have a support package, SLS package, which has been very successful, very helpful to a lot of students to obtain financing for flight training. Enrollment requirements, going back to the program, obviously passport, education, you need to have a high school equivalent. All right, so O levels, a lot of people say, is O levels enough? Yes, that's enough. You don't have to get A levels. O levels enough. English test, it has to be IELTS academic. All right, score 6.0 higher. Maturity, a lot of students ask, can I enroll when I'm 17? Yes, you can, but you have to turn 18 by the time you finish the program. Otherwise, you're not going to get the license. You're going to pass all your tests, but you're not going to get a license because you're not 18. Obviously, we don't want that. So you have to be approximately 17 and a half when you enroll into the program, if you're that young. And so just make sure you turn 18 by the time you're ready to take your CPL exam. Well, PPL, can you be a certified private pilot? Yes. The age is 17. So if you're 17, you can get your CPL license. PPL license. 18, CPL. Of course, you got to pass class 1 medical requirements here. They're very simple. And the character, no criminal history. Okay, I'm sure that everybody here is not a problem for the majority of people. All right, so that's pretty much all we got for this program. I don't really have anything else. Again, if you have any questions, you can take a look at the program, and it's published on a website. It's all out there. And now I'll take the questions. If you got any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself, and then I'll be happy to answer questions you got. We'll probably have another 15 minutes or so for Q&A.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Rubina?
Yes, well, I am from Mauritius, and I am interested in joining the college as an international student.
Okay, yep.
And so my question is, when you say the ATPL, okay, to acquire this qualification, you need to have 1,500 hours.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
So the opportunity is that to reach this number of hours is I can join the flight instructor, right? As a flight
Correct.
instructor.
You work as a flight instructor. You don't join you work as a flight instructor. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
I work as if, but will the aviation, whatever authorities accept this towards the 1,500?
Of course. Of course. Your flight instructor flight time is the piloting command flight time. Not only that, it's flight time, but you're also flying as a captain. You're a commander of the aircraft. Your student is your subordinate, right? Even though student flies in the captain's seat because he's learning to fly, you're teaching him how to fly, you are the commanding pilot. So it's a PIC time, pilot in command time. Absolutely. It's 100% legal flight time, and it will be 100% accepted by the aviation authorities in any country.
Okay, and one little question is that when I finish the studies, okay, and then we will apply for the work permit, right? In the
Right.
meantime, there should be like a gap or something. So, like, am I eligible to take an flight instructor course, etc.?
Okay, so that's a great question. First of all, there will be no gap. Okay, the reason for that is because when you finish your 12 months of instruction, when you apply, I'm going to rephrase it. When you finish your 12 months of postgraduate work permit, you can apply for Canadian Experience class. While you're waiting for the application, you are allowed to continue working as if your postgraduate work permit is still valid. And so the application normally takes about 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 months to get approved, depending on how busy they are. Okay.
Yeah.
So while you're waiting for that, you can continue working as a flight instructor, right? You don't have to stop. So you continue building your flight time. So there's no gap.
Okay.
And as soon as you hear from them, it could be, most likely it's gonna be yes, you've been approved, and then you get a PR and you have unlimited work anywhere you want, including the airlines, right? Or it could be a rejection to some reason, as I discussed, one of the reasons, for example, right? And then you have to stop. But you're already added 5 to 6 months to your 12 months of postgraduate work permit because you'd have to stop while you wait for the application decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. That's a great question. I forgot to mention that. There's no gap, right? So, you have to sit there and wait. You don't have to sit on your hands and wait. That's a good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Russ.
Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Hello. Yeah. So my name is Ishan. We also talked earlier on the phone. It was a very good and brief discussion of what we're about to do. So
Right.
I have a few questions. I've noted them down. First of all, is there going to be any aptitude test from your side for this course?
Okay, so the only time we require aptitude test is if you enroll and you require financing. So if you require financing and you apply for SLS package, then we have to do some kind of aptitude testing because we're going to write a letter to the bank stating that you went through testing, the aptitude testing, we find you as a good candidate, as an acceptable and as an optimal candidate for flight training, right? We can't just tell them, we think this guy's got to be a great pilot without testing you, right? We have to test you, okay? So, but it's not that difficult. This is just psychometric tests you have to take online, probably take about 40 minutes collectively. And then you have to go through interview with one of the airline pilots, could be myself, could be Mr. Gene Carroll, it could be Mr. Vijay, or we call ourselves misters or captains, depending what culture you come from. In the United States, you don't really become a captain until you're actual captain of a passenger aircraft. So, but in a lot of cultures, captain as soon as you got the CPL. So captains, misters, whatever you like. And basically, we put that in the letter. We're going to state that you went through an interview, you went through psychometric testing, and based on this information, we find that you are going to be an excellent candidate for flight training, and you probably most likely will enjoy a very, very, very good career, great career in aviation. Okay, that's the only time we test you. If you don't need financing, if you don't need to issue a letter to your bank, we don't ask you to test, right? So you don't have to go through testing.
Okay, thank you so much. Some other questions, one more. Basically, I'm applying for the pathway program to ATPL Canada for account CPL holders. So apart from the $38,000 that you've mentioned on the website, is there going to be any other cost that I should keep in mind?
Well, not really. I mean, we always say, have an extra 10, 15% available just in case that you need to repeat some kind of stage, just in case, you fail your check ride, you have to, do additional training. We can't tell you for sure, but no, normally it wouldn't be anything else. That's what it costs if you adhere to the schedule, adhere to the curriculum, and pass everything from the first time, which is what most people do, right?
Okay, one more, because you
Yeah.
mentioned global air here in the program, and I did go up and visit the website. Are we going to be ferrying, twin engine aircraft? Because in the course that's for the pathway program, the multi-engine rating is not included, to my understanding. So we'll get done everything on the single engine, and to get that valuable jet time or the multi-engine experience, we would be needing a multi-engine rating. So how do we, go through that?
Oh, okay, no, everything's included. You'll get multi-engine, single engine, everything. If you go to this website, if you go to our website, aircadet.com, and click programs and click on Pathway to Canada for ATP holders, you'll get multi-engine instrument. And so the aircraft you're going to fly is Piper Seneca 3. Okay?
Okay.
So there is a multi-engine training. Like I said, Seneca PA-34, Seneca 3 simulator, Seneca 3 flight training. That's a multi-engine aircraft. I'm not sure what you mean by.
Okay, no, I got my answer. Thank you so much. One more thing is that after we've done our FI course in Canada, and somehow we do get a sponsorship, and somehow I'm able to move to the US, will my flight instructor course in the Canada be acceptable in the US as well, or do I have to do it again there in the US?
Okay, so how are you planning to move to the US after completing your internship in Canada and flight training? I don't quite understand.
Basically, it's just a follow-up question. I just wanted to know if it is acceptable there in the US or not. That's all.
Yes, it is acceptable. So your license and rating are convertible 100%. All you got to do is take the air law exam. Okay, so Canadian Aviation Authority considers US training to be exactly the same as Canadian training and vice versa. Okay.
Okay.
And so, yes, it is acceptable. But I urge you to go to internships, US pilot internship, click on there on a website, and then you will see, I don't know if we can share this right now.
No, I'm seeing this.
You're seeing it, right? Okay, it's sharing right now, okay? US pilot internships. And so the reason why we have this is so you can understand what are your opportunities in the US after completion of training, right? So flight instructor internship, that's for those who do, that's for F1 visa program. It's a different program, okay?
Okay.
And ferry pilot trips for everybody, airline pilot employment. So let's say, for example, you completed your flight training in Canada to the internship and you finish your internship, you got $1,500, you get ATPL in Canada. Can you convert it to US ATPL? Absolutely, right? It's just an air law exam, that's it, right? It's gonna cost you $250, that's it. Now, the problem is that you will not be able to work in the United States, right? Because you have to have an employment permit, like a green card, to work in the United States. And to get a green card based on your qualifications as a pilot, you have to have, I would say, about 10,000 hours as a pilot, right? You have to have extensive experience working as a captain for a large airline, right? I know very few guys who managed to get, exceptional pilot visa or experienced pilot, which is EB2 visa. And there were guys that worked as captains on A350 at Cathay Pacific for 15 years. They're qualified.
Okay.
Right? If you just got 1,500 hours, flight instructor, license, that's not enough by any means. So this is why we recommend that you look at Canada as your opportunity if you want to build flight time, and if you get to Emirates, Cathay, et cetera, Canada is much better candidate than the United States. The United States has a lot of barriers when it comes to immigration, when it comes to getting work permit, stuff like that. It's extremely complicated. Canada actually wants people to come to Canada and immigrate in Canada, because Canada is a larger country than the United States by square mileage, right? And yet it has 5 times less people, right? So they want qualified candidates to come and work in Canada and contribute to the economy and contribute to their GDP and stuff like that. So they have very, very flexible immigration programs. The United States does not have flexible immigration programs at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why we combine U.S. training in the U.S. and then Canada for your PR opportunities where you can build some jet time. And by the way, if you want to stay in Canada, you can stay in Canada, right? We just don't recommend that because a lot of students want to fly 777, they want to fly 787, they want to fly A350, A380, et cetera, et cetera. In Canada, to get to this kind of aircraft will take you about 10 to 12 years, right? In Emirates, it will be immediate, right? As soon as you join Emirates, there's no other aircraft. They only fly 777s and A380s and stuff like that. You will be immediately in this kind of aircraft, right? So yes, you can definitely stay in Canada. If you like in Canada, you can stay in Canada and you can stay there for, obviously permanently if you like, but you'll have to work for about 3 to 5 years in a regional airline to get a significant flight time. Then you have to go to intermediate airline. So it's a journey that will take you about 10 to 12 years, where otherwise you can get it immediately. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Sir,
Yeah,
I
that
have a
makes sense.
question. I have
The
one
only thing
question over here.
All right,
So
go ahead.
thank you. So I have my PR already. So I'm in Canada. I'm based in Canada right now. I came to Canada like 2 years back, and I'll be applying for my Canadian citizenship by next year.
Okay.
So I wanted to understand how this course would be different for me, or if I'm eligible, or if you could guide me, just briefly.
Right.
Like,
I'll guide you right
pathway?
now. You don't need that course at all. If you're a Canadian PR holder, okay, if you apply for Canadian citizenship, this program makes no sense for you. Okay, it's only for international students who come from abroad. Right? If you already have Canadian work permits, et cetera, you don't have to do any of those stages. You don't have to apply for a postgraduate work permit. You don't have to apply for, Canadian PR. You already done that. All right. So you can go to any local flight school, get all your training done locally, and then apply for whatever airline employment you need. This program here makes no sense for somebody who's a Canadian citizenship or Canadian permanent residency already. Right? Now, we'd love to take your money, but we're not going to because I think it's unethical. All right. So we're here to help people and not just take their money. We're here to help people and make sure that they achieve the goals and they actually become airline employment ready after completion of training. If you live in Canada, you got all those permits, you have no legal issues, you can just get a job anywhere, anyways, right? And so I would not recommend coming here to the United States, doing CPL in the United States. It doesn't make any sense. And then, training in Canada. Because if you're planning to build your career in Canada, right, the Canadian airlines will probably ask you, why on earth did you go to US to do flight training? You're Canadian. They'll probably question it. If you're an international student, you do your training in the US and then move to Canada, that makes sense, right? Because you're from, you're an international student. But if you're Canadian, that makes no sense, right? So that, if I was on the interview panel, and I am on the interview panel in my airline, I'll ask the question. It's strange. It's like if you work in the U.S., you want to work in the U.S. airlines, you're American. Why did you do flight training in Canada? It makes no sense, right? So no, I would not recommend for you to do any of that. I would just recommend to you go to local flight school and get your training done locally. All right.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? We got probably a couple more minutes. We're already getting close to 11 o'clock.
Excuse me, just one last thing.
Right.
As we move in to the course and we're done with the visa requirements and everything, so what's going to be the first step for us, and how do we land there and then get our medical done, or is there any way to get it offsite from different countries if they have something in panel?
Right, that's an excellent question. And so what you do is, and for you specifically, we're talking about pathway program, and again, if you're enrolling into the hybrid program, you don't have to do anything. You just apply for enrollment, upload your documents. We'll send you I-20 after we approve you, which is a permit to apply for M1 visa. And then when you come here, you take your FAA medical. The FAA medical takes about 10 minutes to get, 10 minutes, okay? Now, once you finished here, you're gonna go to Canada a couple of months, 2 or 3 months before you're ready to move to Canada. We will send you to a Canadian certified AME, which is aviation medical examiner, okay? And in your case, Zihan, in your case, you basically will have to do it in your country. And so right here, we have a list of medical examiners in different country. Here we go. Click here, right? And then you choose your country. So where are you from? India?
No, I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan, I'm sorry. There you go. We go to Pakistan, right? We look for city. Don't select the city. Select all cities. Submit. And here we go. We got two guys that are certified to be. They're fully certified out of Transport Canada examiners. You click on this guy's name, Dr. Akhund, and there you go. You got the phone number. You got the address. Give him a call. He'll get your class 1 medical. It will take about 3 to 4 months to get the medical approved, right? Because once he examines you, he's got to fill out a form, send it to Transport Canada, and then the medical examiner inside of Transport Canada will look at it and approve it. Okay, so it takes several months to get class 1 medical. In the US, the FAA medical takes 10 minutes, right? Because the medical examiner has the authority to give you a final approval right there, right in his office, right? So it's slightly different.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Russ. And one last thing. Do you recommend us doing the process by ourselves, or do you recommend us to go through the consultants that you mentioned on your website?
What do you mean, the process for what? For application for visa? The visa application?
The enrollment, the application for enrollment with you, and then the visa application all by itself.
Okay, so you don't need to go through consultant to apply with us. You just apply with us through our website. Go here, go to admissions, start enrollment. All right, and then start enrollment here, and then it's going to redirect you to this form right here, which is a secure form. You got to fill out this form. It's done online, 100% online. Now, when it comes to application for the visa, that's a different story, right? So if you want to hire a consultant, right, in your local area, it's going to prepare your paperwork. A lot of students do that, right? And it could cost anywhere between $200 to $300, maybe $500. Sometimes less. Average is about $300. And they can go through paperwork. They can advise you what needs to be added. If there's any additional paperwork needs to be added, et cetera, et cetera. That's when it comes to the actual visa application. Once we send you the invitation to apply for the visa, okay, that's entirely up to you. I would recommend, I recommend if you're serious about it, hire a consultant, get a consultant to go through your paperwork, because that way, because we can't help you from the internet here. We can't really help you. We can't review everyone's application packet. Right, the application packet is something that you do online. So yes, I would recommend you definitely want to do that with a consultant. You don't have to, but I'd recommend doing this. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Russ. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be
no problem. My pleasure. All right, guys. Listen, well, we have I've recorded this session. We'll put it on our Facebook in a day or two. I'll take one last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to understand that you have partnership with the Indian Hercules Aviation Academy.
Correct.
So if they are undergoing the ground training for the students, when they apply for Aero Cadet, admission, do you do the ground training again?
Excellent question. Yes, because you're doing, okay. If you're coming for this program from Hercules Aviation, you're not going to get 1 license or 2 licenses. You have 3 licenses, right? You have American, Canadian, and Indian, right? And so there's no agreement between US or Canada and India, which is DGCA, right? So you cannot just take 1 airlaw exam, like if you have a license from here, and become a Canadian license holder within 20 minutes, right? It doesn't work like that. So in India, you have to take the exams again. And so what you're doing there, you're laying foundation for your DGCA license in India, right? Then you're taking the Indian exams, right? They're going to come back here, do CPL training. Then you can basically go to Canada, finish the Canadian stuff. When you come back, you can come back at any point, right? Retake the check ride, do the check ride with the DGCA and get DGCA license as well. Now, that's going to give you obviously opportunity to work in the airlines in India, Also, when you apply for Canadian visa or US visa, you will be able to show to the Canadian or US consulate that you were intending to work in India because you just passed the GCA exams, right? So that's important, especially for Indian citizens, because you know, you got to prove that you plan to come back to India after completion training. So those GCA exams, they serve both as GCA exams, obviously the fact that you'll be able to get GCA license, and the fact that you plan to come back to India after completion training. Now, whether or not you do that, that's obviously up to you. Once you get to US or once you get to Canada, it's up to you what you want to do. Obviously, we urge you not to break the law, okay, and do everything legally. But it's still sort of important at the stage of application when you apply for the student visa to have those exams, you know, available, and then. And so, yeah, so you'll have to retake the exams, but it's not as boring as sitting for 3 months in India taking the ground classes. We don't do it that way. When you come here to the United States, you're going to start flying immediately. So we combine flying and ground school together. So you're going to fly 2-3 hours a day. Then you're going to do ground school with instructor. The instructor is going to give you, there might be a few lectures per week. The instructor is going to give you homework to do, right? You have to go home. You're going to do self-study. We call it structured self-study, right? Then after 2 or 3 hours of self-study, you can go relax, go to a club, go to a bar, you know, relax, clear your head. Then come back next day, do again, you know, flying, 2 or 3 hours of flying. Then again, you know, the instructor is going to test you on the materials that you were supposed to study. That if something wasn't clear, he's going to explain it to you. So he's going to do one-on-one sort of, you know, study sessions with you. And that's how you work. So it's not as boring as sitting in a classroom, you know, and just studying there for 3 months. You will fly and study. That's how we like to do it in the US.
Okay.
So I have an important question.
Yes.
You know, when you say like the CPL will, according to your website, it says 8 months, right? For the CPL?
Absolutely. Not only 8 months, as I said, we have students who do it in 6 months because the 561 curriculum is very flexible. So you can go as fast as you want. You don't go in a class and the class the class can go as fast as the slowest person in a class. That's what normally part 141 looks like. Here you can go as fast as you want. So some students will finish 6 months, some students will finish in 8 months. You know, the ones it's harder for them, it might take them 10 months, okay? But I'm saying it's possible to finish in 6 months because if you go as fast as you want, you can fly, you know, 2-3 hours a day, right? You can do an hour and a half in the morning, then come back for another hour and a half in the afternoon, right? That's available.
But the thing is about the weather. The weather, if it is in winter, so it would be hard, right, as a student to start flying. It depends on the weather forecast.
Here's the weather. You like that?
Well, if I join in let's say November, this will not be like that, right?
This will be even better. Right now it's summer in Florida. Summer is a rainy season. Okay? So rainy season means that it rains in the afternoon for about an hour or 2 hours. Okay? The rest of the time is beautiful, clear skies. Winter is even better. Winter, you have lower humidity, and so it's a dry season, right? So it's kind of like, you know, you're from India, right? So you have monsoon, right? And you have the dry season. So winter in Florida is a dry season. Temperatures around between 20 to 25 degrees centigrade. It's beautiful. Right now, summer,
But what about
you know.
Canada?
Well, okay, so Canada, you have a 12-month period to complete your flight instructor license, which normally takes 6 months, right? So you have a lot of buffer zone to finish your training in Canada. Plus, the training in Canada's got to be Vancouver. Vancouver has beautiful weather. It's the west coast of Americas, right? North America, west coast. It's got much better weather than, for example, in Toronto, where you got a lake effect, and it does snow there a lot. In Vancouver, it snows a lot less. And you got that North Pacific current, which kind of mellows the weather a lot better. So guys, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. If you have more questions, what you can do is text consulting number on our website. Just go to our website and basically click on contact. Okay, right here.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Can I have the link to access this recorded session so that we can go through it again?
Link to do what, sorry? Oh,
To
recruit,
the video.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I don't have link right now because we haven't published it, but what we'll do is we'll put everything on a Facebook. So
No,
if you
I'm
want to be
sorry.
up to
I'm not.
date,
I'm not in any social media like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram like that. So I'm available on WhatsApp. So how can I access the link?
it will be on our social media. I'm sorry you're not on social media. We're on the Twitter right now as well. So if you join our Twitter account, just go to
Okay.
Twitter and put in Air Cadet. You don't have to
Mhm.
be on social media. You can just create any account under any fake name, and then click on Facebook or click on
خد 80,000 خد منه
Sure. Thank you.
80,000 هلا انا
all
بدخل
right. All right, guys. I appreciate you joining me. Thanks so much. I want to wish you a good day today, and have a pleasant afternoon. Okay, guys. Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, sir.